Assalamu alaikum. This is not Musa. He's just completed his Hajj and he's still there. May Allah accept it. I'm Hamza Tzortzis. This is Imran Hussein. You're watching ReRooted, and this is what's coming up next.
This is really deep, bro. We're getting really deep right away, subhanAllah. You know, everyone gets Musa and I get you for some reason. How do I deal with this? For those 3 or 4 hours in the evening, I would just be happy. You know, I'll be relieved. The relief of not experiencing those thoughts was just amazing.
What, you drink alone?
Yeah. I wasn't a social drinker. For me, I got to the point which is dangerous, which I would look forward to the evening to just drink and get away from these thoughts and feelings. And I'm just calling out to something out the window, you know, obviously not literally out the window, but beyond that. And I'm just asking, I'm saying, why me? And I'm really angry, you know, and I'm asking to show me the way, right? Obviously, I'm under the influence. I don't remember exactly what I was saying. And then the amazing thing is, bro, subhanAllah, you know, I still remember within a couple of days of that event, things started to happen in my life where it's like a domino effect. Things started to fall in place. There was a period in there as well where, and just to clarify, because some people might say, oh, you were born Muslim and therefore you incline towards Islam. No, there's a period, bro, I would go outside at night when no one would be around, like 10, 11 o'clock at night. And I would go outside churches and I'll go outside certain other religious buildings, and I would just call out to God and say, look, I need a solution. What do I do? Where do I go from here? You know, what's my solution? How do I fix this?
Imran Hussein,
Assalamu alaikum.
my beloved brother.
How are you, bro?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
How are you?
Very good, bro. How are you?
Good to see you.
Likewise.
So I want to basically bring the real Imran onto the table. Not that people don't know the real Imran.
Yeah.
They do know the real Imran, but the Imran that I know, right? So I think just to try and make this as conversational as possible, I want to ask you a question.
Okay.
So think of this scenario, okay? You have 1 day to live.
Okay.
You know it's your last day. And you have to be in a room with one person in your life that's living. Who is that person? What do you talk about?
Oh, man. That's a bit of a heavy question to start off with, isn't it?
Yeah.
One person, 1 day. Full day?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why not?
Can this not be one of those questions which I think about and we come back to it near the end of the show or something?
I'm sure you have someone in your mind.
Yeah, I've got a few people in mind. So I'm just trying to see who it would be, and thinking to myself, it would probably one of the persons that it may be, maybe my wife.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe my wife.
And what do you say to your wife?
I would probably just speak to her, let her know how I feel. And
how do you feel at that time? So you're in that moment.
Yeah.
You know you got 1 day to live. You're speaking to your wife. What are you gonna say to your wife, bro?
I would tell her how much I appreciate her, first and foremost. And then following that, one thing I would want to spend some time doing would be put some or get her to understand some of the things that I want to leave behind. And for her to facilitate those for me if she could at some point. That would probably be a lot of the time that I spend with her doing that. Or the time that I'd have with her.
So what do you want to leave behind, bro?
There's loads of things that I've thought about, right? Just something that would continue after I'm gone. You know, something that I could benefit from afterwards as well. And those things that you could be a bit more sure of, that there's a bit more sincerity behind those than the things you do in your life as you're living your life itself. Maybe something written. There's a few things that I sort of have envisioned me doing over the next, inshallah, if Allah gives me the life, maybe if I have another, say 30 years, 40 years, whatever it may be, inshallah more than that. But I do want to write stuff, and I know saying this, and I'm thinking in the back of my head, being dyslexic, struggling with writing and reading, it'll be a challenge, but I guess therefore more rewarding too. One thing I do want to do is write a book more recently, as we've discussed as well off camera, in the next year or so. In the long term, I do want to do some more things or write some more things, which I don't really want to mention right now.
So
just
why
to
do you
protect
think writing is important?
Because it continues. right? So, for example, a lot of the people that I've been inspired by, that I've looked up to, you know, I've not seen videos of them. I've not seen audio recordings of them, because those things never existed then, right? I've heard from them through their writing. You know, I've experienced them. I've got to know them through their writing, which is really powerful from that perspective. And also, you even notice it today. Although videos are, you can do videos now. They don't last. Even on YouTube, they don't last. After a couple of years, the quality degrades, and before you know, it's lost somewhere in the recesses of YouTube. But writing, it's there.
It's like
You
a
know,
book.
yeah.
A book's battery doesn't die.
It doesn't die, and it's kind of starting to get popular again. You know, surprisingly, although you have so many different mediums, writing still, you know, it's there. And to be honest, those people, for example, that write against Islam, they're writing. You know, they do videos obviously, but they're writing more than they do videos. But the balance when it comes to Muslims, it doesn't seem to be there. You know, we don't have as much things written as we do spoken, if you like,
Sure.
compared to them. And they're writing, and if they're writing, they know they're writing for a reason, and there's benefit.
So you tell your wife that you want to write a book and you want it to continue.
Yeah.
So what's this book about, bro?
So this initial book, one of the books that I do want to work on in the next year or so, inshallah, is a book through which I share my experiences, things that I've gone through, and how they may relate to people that may call themselves atheists today, may call themselves agnostic, may call themselves unbelievers, whatever label they may want to give themselves, but whoever is living a life in the absence of God, to speak to those people and to sort of relate to them, and to maybe share some things which I've been able to figure out and work out, which they may not have worked out until now.
Okay, so let's summarize this journey then.
Yeah.
Take me to the start of your book. Where do you think it's going to start?
It'll probably start where basically I feel my personal journey started with Islam, or even prior to that, which was when the realization hits you that you're alive and you're going to die.
Okay,
and you're not here
how old
forever.
were you?
Early teens, bro.
Teens.
Yeah,
Okay.
early teens.
So let's bring you back. So Imran, early teens.
Yeah.
You're doing your normal routine. If you had a routine, say you wake up, look at yourself now. How did you feel? What's going on? Talk to us.
This is really deep, bro. We're getting really deep right away, subhanAllah. You know, everyone gets Musa and I get you for some reason. How do I deal with this now? Okay, so going back, see, look, one of the things I struggled with, and I believe a lot of people struggle with, or people that question these things, and everyone asks these questions at some point in their life, but some people, it hits them early on, which is to do with, why am I here? You know, when you realize you are not immortal, that you're mortal and you're going to die.
Yep.
That doesn't sit well with human nature, because there's a part of us that wants to live on forever. You know, it's a part of our nature, what we call the fitrah, I would say, even to an extent. And when you realize you're going to die, that hits you like a ton of bricks when the first time that occurs to you. And some people are good at brushing it away. Some people aren't so good at doing that. I couldn't brush it away. You know, I was fixated on it, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. And as soon as you realize you're going to die, then you naturally realize, okay, you go through the thinking process of thinking, okay, well, why am I here? If I'm going to leave, if I have this period of time, then why do I have this period of time? What's it all about? Where am I going? You know.
So in that process, how were you feeling? So it hits you for the first
When
time.
it hits you, yeah.
You realize that you're going to face a personal apocalypse.
Well, you do,
right?
as soon as it does.
And then what happens?
You get anxious, you get depressed, you know, some people may feel suicidal.
So you're saying to me you were depressed and anxious?
Yeah, I went through several years of my life
SubhanAllah.
struggling with anxiety, with depression. It was an existential type. I'm not saying that all anxieties and depressions are related to this type of stuff.
Sure.
No, many people have it, you know, there could be medical reasons, X, Y, and Z. But for me personally, it was to do with these existential questions. Who am I? Why am I here? If I'm going to die, what's it all about?
So how do you deal with it?
You don't know how to deal with it initially. You freak out, you panic. And when you get into that panic state releases more adrenaline, you know, and that causes more panic and more anxiety, and it becomes this vicious circle of panic and anxiety which you can't escape from. And to the point where eventually, after, you know, a day or two of going through this period, and then you get exhausted to the point you can't even sit up anymore, you just fall asleep. There'll be periods of time, bro.
So you're saying to me, all of that you were experiencing
yeah,
for years?
There'll be periods of time I'll be at school high school. I'd be sitting in science class, and I still remember sitting like somewhere at the back of the science class. The teacher's talking, and I can't keep myself awake because I'm exhausted physically from just thinking.
Subhanallah.
You know, you get exhausted from physical activity. Yeah, I was overweight. I knew nothing about physical activity, bro. I'll just sit there, eat my food, watch, go online, watch some videos, read maybe every now and then, and that would be my activity. You don't get exhausted by those things, but I was exhausted by just thinking about.
But surely there was a way of trying to cope with that. How did you? What did you go to basically try and cope with the anxiety?
Human instinct is I want to find a solution.
Okay.
And I want to look for a way out. So initially there's that panic stage, and you don't know what to do. But then you realize, okay, I'm not dead. It's not killing me, but I don't want to live with this. So I need to figure this out. So obviously I went through sort of a period of several years where I was trying to sort of look at options, alternatives, things to get rid of this, right? I had an inclination that medicine was not going to do the trick, but I couldn't help but resort to it at a point, or try it at a point, because I was just getting exhausted. I couldn't find a way. Tried the medication, the antidepressants and stuff, but they didn't really work. So I came off them after a very short period of time. I didn't stay on them. So I carried on looking. So I tried many different things and avenues to try to figure things out.
Such as?
Well, there's a whole spectrum. So I went down the route of trying certain substances. Maybe this will benefit someone, so I mention it. I tried alcohol at a point. For me, that was dangerous because it worked well for me, right? So I wasn't a social drinker.
What do you mean by well?
Meaning, whenever I would be under the influence, and I'm sure many people experience this, you lose the sort of notion of anxiety and sort of deep thinking. It's all about the moment. You're in the present. You're relaxed. You're happy, and it just gets rid of those thoughts and feelings for a while. So it's a patch, and I would just use that, and I would just for those 3 or 4 hours in the evening, I would just be happy. I'll be relieved. The relief of not experiencing those thoughts was just amazing.
Well, you would drink alone?
Yeah. I wasn't a social drinker. For me, I got to the point which is dangerous, which I would look forward to the evening to just drink and get away from these thoughts and feelings. But at the end of the night, when that starts wearing off, and that first thought hits, it creeps through and hits you again, and you're like, that feeling you get then of like, oh my God, I've tried another thing and it's not worked. That's even more dangerous, because what happens is when you go through something, you have a list of options, possible solutions you can have to resolve that. But as you start working through those solutions, they don't work. Eventually, that list of solutions gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And that makes you more and more anxious, because you realize, okay, I'm going to get to the point where I'm going to have nothing left to try. And then I'm going to be in trouble. So that sort of crutch.
So how long did that go for, the kind of
Well, I started taking through things.
Okay.
Drinking, I knew, was a temporary solution. It wasn't helping, right? But it was nevertheless helping. So I continued that for a while through my teenage years. Most people didn't know, right? Then I also tried some light drugs, which what you would call, those, nothing serious, nothing too, but that never worked for me. It just made me more anxious, so I just stayed away from that. Socializing, I lost a lot of weight. I was quite overweight as a child, lost a lot of weight, got involved in the social circles, partying, all of this type of stuff. That didn't help, right? Because eventually the feelings and thoughts hit me, and they hit me harder than ever before. And they will come in waves. Sometimes months will go by, sometimes weeks will go by, sometimes days will go by, and it will come back, and it will come back, and it will come back. And it's almost like getting punched in the face over and over again. You can only take so much, right? And eventually I got to the point, I think it was in my early 20s, maybe 2021, where 22, something like that, where I got to the point with all of those possible crutches and solutions run out. And then I was like, I don't know what to do now. From a material perspective, worldly perspective, there's nothing left that can help me now. And then I'm thinking, where do I go from here? And what we talk about in our courses about triggering the fitra, the nature inside the human being. I got to the point where something inside me just screamed out and told me that your solution is not going to be in the physical world. Your solution is what we call metaphysical, beyond the physical, right? And just to give a bit of my background, because what happens, bro? Whenever I make videos on existential things online, atheists get really cheesed off from the perspective, why are you talking about it? Why don't you ask atheists? Why don't you ask how we feel? And I've spoken to atheists about this, but the reason I speak about this...
You were there?
Yeah, I was there. I lived it. You may not categorize me as the typical atheist, which says, I have hatred towards God and I don't like God and I don't believe in God, and I'm a naturalist. No, I was indifferent to the question of God or the idea of God. God
Like,
exists.
like many atheists, to be honest.
Yeah.
They're indifferent.
I
They're
don't care.
agnostic.
Yeah, I
absolutely.
live my life. I'm here. It's a physical world. I'm doing my thing, and that's it. But at that point, when I got to the point where I ran out of options, I was like, okay, I just knew inside that the solution was beyond that bridge of material.
Didn't you
know?
try counseling at some point?
Yeah, along the way as well. Didn't help because
Okay.
people, they just didn't get. I was the questions they would ask and the things they would say. I just realized, okay, these guys don't know what I'm going through. They can't help me. And I was like that. I don't like wasting time. If I know the solution is not going to work and I'm sure of it, I'm going to move on. I'm not going to waste time there. It could be a problem as well because some people, you don't give things enough time to let them, that's actually one of the problems I experience with reading as well. If I don't get something in the book and I don't like it, I will just leave it and move on. But anyway, but that was what I would do.
So now you're moving into the metaphysical, spiritual solutions. What's your journey now?
Well, I remember one night distinctly. I'm sitting in my room and I'm under the influence of alcohol, right? And I'm sitting there and I'm looking out the window and I'm thinking, I'm not even thinking at that point. And I just look out the window and I just scream out and I say, look, if you're there, why the hell am I going through this?
Really?
Why in the world are you putting me through this? I don't know who I'm speaking to, right? All I know is my family's, from Pakistan. They're Muslim. Don't know what that means, right? We fast. They fast. Muslims fast in Ramadan and pray Jummah on Fridays. If you can get away with it, you can get away with it, and you don't go. That's all I know. And I'm just calling out to something out the window, obviously not literally out the window, but beyond that. And I'm just asking. I'm saying, why me? And I'm really angry, and I'm asking to show me the way, right? Obviously, I'm under the influence. I don't remember exactly what I was saying. And then the amazing thing is, bro, subhanAllah, I still remember within a couple of days of that event, things started to happen in my life where it's like a domino effect. Things started to fall in place. There was a period in there as well where, and just to clarify, because some people will say, oh, you were born Muslim and therefore you incline towards Islam. No, there's a period, bro, I would go outside at night when no one would be around, like 10, 11 o'clock at night. And I would go outside churches and I'll go outside certain other religious buildings and I would just call out to God, say, look, I need a solution. What do I do? Where do I go from here? What's my solution? How do I fix this? And then eventually, I started to look into religion and one thing after another, and I got to the point where one day I was sitting down and I picked up a copy of the Quran and I was reading it. I think it was a Yusuf Ali translation. Don't remember exactly. And it was in the tafsir, in the commentary of, I think it was Surah Al-Nas, if I'm not mistaken. It was in the commentary of that where there was a statement that was made there that just like at the darkest point of night, the first rays of light break through, like at the most darkest point, the first rays of light come through and they break that darkness, they tear through that darkness. In the same way, in the most darkest point of a human's life, the light of guidance, Allah breaks that through at that point. And that just hit me like a ton of bricks, that statement.
Why?
And I just broke down. Because I was living that. That was me. I was seeing myself there. Because I was at the point where I was at the darkest point. All of my possible solutions have run out. All of the things that could resolve this have run out. There is nothing left. And then, that statement that hits me. And that statement, reading that, is almost like something opened up inside me. And I just started crying. I broke down at that point. I literally broke down. And at that moment, I knew that this was the truth. This book that I was reading, this Quran, was the truth from Allah, from God.
It's as if you didn't read the Quran was reading you.
Yeah, literally.
So then what happens?
Then basically, I knew this was the truth more than I knew that I existed, right? More so than I could see myself in the mirror and I exist. I knew this was the truth. A few things happened in that period. Number one, the feelings of depression, anxiety didn't really disappear. They were still there, but I felt I found something which was going to get me through. Secondly, I remember experiencing this feeling at that time that you've been blessed with the truth. You need to share this with others because there are loads of other people out there that are going through exactly what you've gone through.
Okay, before you get into that, so you cry, the Quran engages with you, you get that awakening, it's the truth. Now you want to talk about, right, I want to share this truth with other people.
Yeah.
But I want to know, how did that fix you? Did you get fixed straight away? Did your anxiety and panic, did it diminish straight away as a result of engaging with the Quran? So I want to know the period from engaging with the Quran, then the removal of your panic and anxiety.
Yeah.
what was happening there?
So I'm trying to learn as much as I can, right? So there's two things going on inside me right now. There's an element which is found this type of peace and tranquility I can't explain.
Was that immediate?
Yeah, the piece of the puzzle, like there was almost like, you know, when you're making a puzzle and there's this one last piece or two pieces left and you fit them in, and that satisfaction you get that it fits. It's a perfect fit.
Wait, let me just get this straight, just for the listeners. So you've got panic and anxiety for years.
Yeah.
You've tried
still
alcohol and drugs and all of these things.
Yeah.
You still have panic and anxiety. Then you engage with the Quran.
Yeah.
Then you immediately know it's the truth.
Yeah.
Now, does your panic and anxiety diminish at that point?
Well, I mean, I know it when I encounter that part of the Quran. So I'm reading it. I'm feeling, okay, there's something here because I continue to read it. But then at one point, something hits me and it just opens me up, right? Like nothing else.
And
right?
then basically your life changed from that moment.
It's changed, but the panic and anxiety is still there.
Okay.
Right.
To a lesser degree, or
to a lesser degree, because now there's this other element of me which has found something which has found the truth. Right. I know it's the truth. It's very hard to explain it because we grow up in a world, bro, in an environment which teaches us to think that seeing is believing. You know, if you cannot rationally justify something, it's not true. If you cannot empirically justify something, it's not true. But I'm experiencing something here now, which is just blowing my mind as well, that I know this is the truth. More so than looking myself in the mirror and knowing that I am real and I exist. But I cannot, at this point at least, I haven't rationally justified it. I haven't gone through the arguments for the miracles of the Quran and all of these things. Though that came much later. So that's an amazing, profound thing that's happened. And that for me has highlighted to me that there are few things. Number one, that the human being is more than just the physical. Right? Because there was points in my life, bro, I would walk past the butchers and I would look into the window and there would be pieces of meat hanging and I would look at that. And this morbid thought would strike me that what's the difference between me and that piece of meat that's hanging in the window? That's flesh and bone. I'm flesh and bone. What's the difference?
Just a different rearrangement.
Yeah, literally. There's no difference. You skin me, it's the same thing, just in a different form, right? And that will be just leave me such a dark and so painful feeling inside you can't explain. But now I've realized that there's something beyond this physical me. That's experienced something.
So it sounds like your anxiety changed to a type of anxiety that you wanted to know more about the truth you found and that you wanted to share it.
No. So that was another element of me.
Oh, okay.
Right. But now the anxiety is still there. And I remember clearly today, there was one moment where I knew, okay, so I have to pray. Now that I'm starting to practice Islam, I need to pray. I never prayed in my life as far as I remember. Yeah. Maybe on the odd occasion. I read the Quran when I was a child, but I never, obviously typical Pakistani family system, right? You go to the madrasa, you read the Quran, and that's it. So I remember I started praying, and there was one day I fell in prostration. That's probably the most sincere prostration I've probably made ever, right? And I pray that I can make more of those. But I fell into prostration, and I asked Allah, I asked God, I said, look, please take this anxiety and depression away from me. Only you can take this away from me. And I was sure of that at the time, because nothing else could. I couldn't. And I knew it was only Allah that could take that away from me. And not just saying it or knowing it as a theoretical statement, but actually knowing it here, like believing it, that, okay, Allah is the only one that can take this away. And I'm sure of that. And as soon as I picked my head up out of that prostration, bro, Allah is my witness, that anxiety and depression disappeared. It disappeared like it never existed. It just went away completely. And that, talk about a miracle, right? And it's not me. I want people to notice this. Whether you're an atheist, agnostic, whoever you are, God will give every single human being a set of signs in their own life. You just need to switch on your internal radar to pick them up, right?
Wow.
Yeah, and when you do that, you will pick them up. You will see them, right? And God's given you the ability to see them and to process them, yeah? And if you don't process them in the right way for whatever reason, then you're responsible, obviously, because of what you've done. So and that for me was one of the greatest signs.
That was deep.
And it affected me, bro. It changed me. And like, think about it, a person in that state, to then say, oh no, well, hold on a second, I'm not going to believe until I am rationally convinced or empirically convinced. That's just being stupid. You're actually acting like an animal in that regard then. Because only animals are convinced when they see something and then they act. Yeah, we've been blessed with something a bit more than that. So use those faculties. And denying that would have been a crime at that point.
So you're frustrated, it disappears instantaneously, immediately. Allahu Akbar.
Yeah. Allahu Akbar.
Now, this new Imran, who is he? What does he do?
Bro, I at that moment, it, like I said, I had the realization before, but at that moment I was convinced, okay, now this is, yes, Allah's taken this away from me, but I've also realized that He's put me on this earth for a reason, and all of us for a reason. So if I now sit on this and don't share this with anyone, then I am going to be blameworthy, right? So it was that sort of, it was almost a sense of a burden that was on me, that I had to share this with others, you know. So, and then that's what I started to do, and I started to share whatever I knew, little I knew at the time.
Carry on with the journey. Tell me.
So I started to give dawah. I remember, and again, the signs continue. I was working finally after finishing. I finished university at this point, looking for a job. Want to get a job in the field that I've studied. I studied design engineering at university. And nothing's coming through. It's the time of the recession, just after the recession, and I'm just sitting there. I'm getting frustrated. It's been a year, and then I get a job, right, in the field, you know, and exactly the job that I was looking for. Now I'm working in that environment. Now you start practicing, and you go into an environment with this alcohol and this thing, and I don't know how to really navigate myself because I'm new into Islam, and I didn't want to be there. And I'm trying to make that decision: should I leave or should I not? I've been looking for this job for so long. Finally, it's here. You know, Allah will give you tests. You know, just because you believe, as Allah says, you think that you're not going to be tested. The tests start, right? And then this is a big test for me. What do I do? And I remember I go up because we worked in a building where there's an open roof. Go out onto the rooftop for lunch, and I'm really considering, should I hand in my notice? And at that moment, I get a phone call from someone in iERA. I don't remember who it was, right? I get a phone call. I'm not sure if it was Sabur or who it was, someone else maybe. And the brother says to me on the phone, I used to, you know, because I went to a dawah training course along this point at some point over the past couple of months. And the brother says to me, are you still involved in dawah? I said, yeah, somewhat. He said, look, do you want to join a team? And I'm thinking, I said, okay. I said, well, is there a team around? He said, yeah, there's a team in West Ealing. Go and join the brothers, you know. And for me, that was a sign. Okay, I need to leave this and I need to take this direction. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I just thought, okay, do this and go. And I went, joined the brothers, gave dawah for a year in West Ealing. It was probably the most sincere dawah I've done, to be honest, bro, because it wasn't the time of cameras and YouTube and all of this. It was a beautiful experience, bro. You know, when you share the message of Islam with people, even if people spit at you and they argue with you, because West Ealing is quite, used to be quite aggressive from the perspective of some of the Christians there. Not all of them. Some of the Christians there were quite, I wouldn't say militant, but they were quite aggressive, right? They will come to your table, start fights with you, argue with you, shout at you. But it was an amazing experience, bro. You know, when you realize that Allah is the one that gives you life, and then He guides you through life, and He gives you everything you have, and He doesn't have to do that. And then He gives you an opportunity for you to now earn more reward by sharing that message and bringing other people to the truth. That, you know, you would take. Look at what the companions went through, bro. So, like us just taking a few swear words and people shouting down at you is nothing.
Absolutely. So you're giving dawah for about a year on the dawah table in East Ealing?
West Ealing.
West Ealing. And then what happens next?
So subhanAllah, so I'm giving dawah, everything is alhamdulillah, it's going well, and then I get Sabur contacts me, right? Because we did a Christmas dawah day in London, me and brother Ni'matullah, and we did a Christmas dawah day, and Sabur contacts me because he saw me in a video. I did a little reminder in that video, and he's chasing me, and I'm trying to avoid him because I'm happy doing what I'm doing there. And now I'm not blaming Sabur for taking me out of that environment, right? Allah decrees everything. So he contacts me, finally we get in touch. He invites me to an event that you were doing, and I think it was in Queen Mary University in London, where you did the Eternal Challenge. I come there, I meet Sabur for the first time, I meet you. I met you actually before as well, bro, and you don't remember. I met you in the dawah training course in, what university was it? This is a university in London. And you did a dawah training course.
Kingston
University. Yeah, you came in late. Salim Chat guy did the dawah training. You just walked in your thobe, bouncing around.
Had a thobe on?
You were wearing a thobe, bro.
Oh dear.
Yeah, tight, nice.
Was that nice
thobe.
to you? Was that nice to you?
Okay,
let's move on. So,
I remember one thing. I remember you asked a question. I answered it, and you were quite happy with the answer. And then I followed you out to the car because I was trying to talk to you, but you were a bit busy. But you did speak to me, alhamdulillah. And I remember thinking to myself, because you were one of the first guys I watched talking about the whole rational side of Islam, and that gave me another element. You know, I was thinking, subhanAllah, Islam is, you know, so comprehensive that yes, it has that spiritual truth, and that's sufficient, but it also has that rational dimension, you know, which will satisfy. And this is Islam's timeless, and it has what the people of this time need too. So I was impressed by the content, right, of what you were saying. And I wanted to sort of do what you were doing. And I remember making a dua inside that I want to do this. And I remember, subhanAllah, the first dawah training course I gave, guess what university was at?
Kingston
University.
No way.
Yeah, the first dawah
Allahu
training course I
Akbar.
did, subhanAllah. I think it was a few
Really?
years later, yeah.
SubhanAllah.
And just the way Allah works, subhanAllah, and the way He plans things. So, where was I?
Sabur, he calls
Sabur,
you.
he called me, got in touch, came to the Eternal Challenge event, and then me and him got to know each other. We got quite close, and you know, at that point, Sabur is a strategic thinker, mashallah. Yeah, he's brilliant. Now, he had a vision. He wanted to start doing videos online, and because he knew there was things, Islam was being attacked, and people were saying things about Islam which weren't true and making things up. And Muslims were just starting to get on YouTube. There was you and Adnan, but there was nothing else after that. It was like a void. So we started to do videos. We started to do the ODM videos. ODM started to get popular, right?
The London Dawah movement.
London Dawah movement really picked up. And you know, we were going Speaker's Corner, putting out videos. No one was really doing videos in Speaker's Corner that much then as well. So we're probably to blame for some of the stuff that comes out from there today. But so we started doing that. And at that point, I you know, another test, the trial that happened, and which was, fame can get to the best of us, bro. And I wasn't the best of us at the time, because I was just learning about Islam, and now I'm exposed to this whole social media, and people are looking up to you, and they're commenting, and they're praising you, and they, you know, think you're something special, think you know more than you actually know, and you come across like this on video, because it's the magic of video, right? You seem like something bigger than you are, yeah. And that started to get to me over time. Started to really get to me, and I was in denial, you know. And shaitan comes in, and shaitan works in increments, bro. He will not suddenly just say, you know, throw you under the bus. Like, you know, small steps. You start convincing yourself, oh, you should put out a video looking at the views, you know, and you start getting agitated. Why is this video getting 2,000 views, 3,000 views? Why did the last one get 10,000 and this one's not doing as well? Let's change the title. Let's make it a bit more clickbait. Oh, why are you doing this? Oh, I'm doing this because it's good for the dawah, bro. You know, more videos gets views, more people see it, it's better for the dawah. And before you know it, your intention for doing goes from doing it for the sake of Allah to doing it for the sake of views and likes, and for your ego, basically.
So how do you deal with that?
I didn't know how to deal with it, bro. I just went with the flow, you know, and I got to the point. And then obviously Allah gives you tarbiyah in life sometimes, right?
Absolutely.
And I got it as well. And I got it through some brothers that I really love and respect today. And I needed it at that time, bro. They basically smashed me down, and they told me, you need to just shut up, and if you want to carry on in the dawah, you do the background stuff and get off online and social media, in not too many words. And I hated them for it at the time. I didn't like it, and I was struggling against myself, because my ego had become addicted to the whole views and stuff like this, yeah. And I had to pull back, and people probably noticed I went offline for about 3 or 4 years. You know, I was completely hardly anything online.
And do you think that was
one of the best
therapeutic?
things that happened. Absolutely, bro. I needed it. You know, I had to just tear that side of me out, bro, because it was dangerous. It would have destroyed me. It did destroy me to an extent. And I went through another crisis, and, you know, I went through another period. Bro, there was a time that I'm involved in the da'wah. People are seeing me as a leader in the da'wah. You know, people are looking up to me. They're asking questions, all of this stuff. And I am now, once again, going through the anxiety and depression I went through before Islam.
SubhanAllah.
And I'm thinking, what is going on here?
Why?
I don't know. And I'm thinking, oh, Ya Allah, why is this happening? I can convince any atheist on the face of the earth that God exists, and I can give rational arguments for this, but I'm hollow inside, right? And that was another thing that made me realize the truth is not contingent about rationality or empiricism or anything like this. You know, you could be rationally convinced something is true. You could convince others rationally that something is true, but you may not know it's true deep inside, and therefore you're not going to benefit. You know, and Islam is a reality like that. It's not about being just rationally convinced. Oh, God exists. Here's the ontological argument. Here's this.
Like, we rationally know what good food is.
Yeah.
We could list it out for you right now: vegetables, grains, whole foods, etc.
Absolutely.
But we don't always eat good food.
Yeah,
there's a link between what we're rationally convinced about something and who we become.
Yeah.
Because Islam is not just an abstract idea or belief.
Yeah.
It's more than that. It changes your state of being, how you relate with yourself, how you relate to others, and how you relate to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Absolutely.
So how did you solve that then?
So that was the second crisis, right?
Yeah, how did you solve that?
Imam Ghazali, right?
Yeah,
The
absolutely.
second crisis, subhanAllah.
So what happened?
Although nothing comparable to individuals like that, subhanAllah. But the solution for that now this time was, okay, it was a bit more tricky, because I'm convinced Islam is the truth. I'm a Muslim, I'm giving da'wah, I'm involved in these things, and I'm thinking, whoa, what's going on here? Why am I experiencing this? And I realized the reason was because of my ego, right? I realized that it had all become about me and me looking like something, and not about me worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and becoming closer to Allah and doing it for the sake of Allah and His pleasure. That I had to fix, and it was much harder than the previous time. It wasn't a case of, I tried it. You know, human beings try it.
Yeah, but when you say fix,
Yeah.
it's not a lever you pull or a button you
Yeah.
press. It's an ongoing process, bro.
Yeah.
We have to work on ourselves even now.
Yeah, but I wanted to get rid of that anxiety and depression
Okay.
because I knew I'd gotten so bad.
So you're saying that was linked to an excessive
I knew
ego,
it. I
maybe.
knew
So
it.
how did you solve
for
it?
me, that was like Allah's gonna put me through this each time I fall off track,
Okay.
because that's what's gonna fix me. Otherwise, I'm just too arrogant to be fixed otherwise, right? That's what's going to work for me. So I'm going through this now. I need to be fixed. I knew that. And human beings try being clever. I thought, you know what, maybe let's fall into prostration again and try what we tried the first time. It didn't work this time. It didn't work. And I realized, okay, I'm going to have to work.
So what worked?
It's just building myself, learning, right? Studying myself. One of the things I took up, I remember going Umrah as I was coming out of this depression. So this time the depression went slowly. Each time I got better, and I removed a bit more of that malice inside, and I started to learn a bit more, I started to get a bit better. The anxiety and depression calmed down a bit each time. I went to Umrah at this period about a few years ago. And I remember going there and making one of the du'as that I made was, Ya Allah, show me put in my heart what you want me to focus on, what's going to be beneficial for me and what you want from me in this life. And one of the things I came back with was just this urge to be able to understand the Quran directly in Arabic. It was just this intense urge, like, I haven't felt with most things in my life. And again, the challenge, okay, you're dyslexic, you can hardly spell in English, and you want to learn Arabic, one of the most technical languages on the face of this earth. But I just thought, okay, let's just do it. So I just started to do that because I felt I wanted to really connect with the Quran and benefit from the Quran, not just spit out verses on video, and act like you know what you're talking about, where people may benefit, but you're destroying yourself in the process. But actually learn for myself and benefit myself.
So how's that learning process so far?
It's a process, bro. It goes on, subhanAllah. It's not easy. It's been about 2.5, 3 years. I'm still in the process. I'm still learning. But
that's going to take you obviously for the rest of your life. Absolutely,
bro. But it's one of the things I really recommend everyone that's involved in the da'wah to do is to, even if you don't learn Arabic, but just to start doing something, engaging with the Quran in some way,
pondering,
which is consistent, some way, right? Because remember, at the end of the day, it's a nice to have. It's amazing to have the Arabic and understand the Quran directly, but the purpose isn't to just appreciate the language. The purpose was to engage with the message and for it to change you. As
absolutely.
A human being. And alhamdulillah, we have brilliant translations as well. And if people just pick it up and just engage with it regularly, it will change you. Like you said, the Quran reads you. It speaks to you, but you have to approach it in a way where you are approaching it to gain guidance and not to bring something to it. So that's the process, and that's what helped me through this time as well, and it fixed me in many ways, bro.
So honestly, now we've come to Imran today.
Yeah.
So, who is Imran today then? What's your state, bro?
A work in progress at the moment, right?
Like everybody.
Like everyone. So we go through ups and downs, right? No one's perfect. Yeah.
So by the way, you want to put all of this in a book, right?
Yeah, I want to cover all of these things and probably go into a lot more detail regarding the existential stuff and how this may relate to certain atheists and agnostics, right?
I'll tell you why I think this is very powerful, because a lot of the books promoting a secular philosophy or atheism or whatever you want to call it, they're addressing the ideas through stories and through personal experiences. You have a lot of ex-Muslims writing, or some ex-Muslims writing books of similar nature. You have atheists writing books in that way, and it's through their lived experiences. So I think you doing that would be probably be the first Muslim in the English language articulating the veracity of Islam spiritually and rationally through your lived experience in a powerful way.
Inshallah. Yeah. Bro, we need more of this.
No, absolutely. Absolutely.
Pick up most atheist books these days, right? Whether it's by Dawkins, Ali Rizvi is a atheist Muslim. It's all through a narrative which is a personal life that's experiencing things and developing ideas through that reality. And then they come to the conclusion they do.
Yeah, just like Alam Shah, I think his name is. He wrote a book called The Young Atheist Handbook. Yeah. Again, through his lived experiences. And it's very emotional. Yeah. So they mix a little bit of reason. Yeah. Well, it's not rational, but it's couched in rational language with their lived experiences. And it comes across very powerful.
Because the power's in the narrative, right? If you took the arguments, for example, in Ali Rizvi's book, and when we did a small thing, we sat down, we discussed the whole thing about when we did a response video to that. Yeah,
absolutely.
If you take just the arguments,
I mean, they're easily dealt with.
There's not much there.
No, there isn't.
But the power is in the story, in the narrative.
Absolutely.
There's parts, bro, I'll be honest, I was reading his book and I was thinking, I was relating to him. I was experiencing what he's going through, So, and I mentioned that in the video as well. And that's why I specifically focused on the problem of evil, because that seemed to be the main thing that affected him.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's powerful from that perspective. And hopefully, it will benefit, those individuals who may call themselves atheists or irreligious.
Well, I
really
can't wait until you finish it.
that.
I know it will take some time, but I think it's going to be a brilliant project, and Allah make it a huge success.
Inshallah.
So I have another question,
Yes.
which relates to the first question.
Yep.
So the first question was about, if you had one day to live and you're in a room, you had to pick one person, who would it be and what would you say? Now, go back to the minute you realize that, you're alive, you're conscious, you're a human being. Basically, maybe you're 8 or 7-year-old. I want you to speak to Imran when he's 8 years old. So you were to meet him in this room right now. I want you to tell him 3 things.
I've thought about this, Rob. I thought about it from the perspective of my daughter. Yeah.
Subhanallah.
Because I'm afraid for her. As one of the main things that I'm fearful of is that she doesn't get the right tools to be able to process reality. Because she's also going to get to the age where she has these thoughts and questions about life and existence. And she's also going to get to the age where she realizes that she's also going to one day die like all of us, right? I didn't have those tools at the time, So one of the things I would tell her, and me by extension, if I was to talk to myself at that age, would be, number one, don't fall for the world and what it teaches you, or how it teaches you to think, right? Because and it's unfortunate, bro, because we've been taught to think in a certain way, which is destroying us in this world, and it's going to destroy us in the next. And people are falling into it head over heels completely, right? So give her the right tools, and also just get her to have a connection with the Book of Allah. Because if you've got that handhold, if you've got that rope and you're holding on to that, there is literally, you can weather any storm, you can get through any situation in life. But you have to give Allah's words that respect. You can't just see it as a book you're going to put on a shelf and make it look nice, or just recite and learn how to recite. You have to engage with its meanings and learn it. So that's one thing. That's probably the main thing I'll tell anyone. Who if you're at a young age or an old age, just start to engage with the Book of Allah.
Related to that question, so you're talking about your daughter. So your parents, going back into your anxiety and panic.
Yeah.
What was the kind of relationship with your parents, or how did your parents help you along the way?
I didn't tell them initially. I tried to just deal with it, because
all parents know, surely.
Yeah, my parents figured out something wasn't right.
Yeah.
Although I was good at keeping it in and not making it known, but my dad really helped me through that situation a lot.
Wow.
Right. So he would take me to the counseling sessions. He would get advice of people. You would expect Asian parents to normally be like, what the hell, get over it, snap out of it, because it's taboo generally in society, but especially amongst the Asian community. Depression, anxiety, psychological issues and things is very taboo, right? So he really was supportive. He really helped me through that a lot, right? So he, I couldn't be more grateful for what he did at that time. And I pray that Allah gives everyone parents that are supportive, and that we become supportive parents of our kids too, inshallah. But yeah, they were very good, very supportive.
And how's your relationship with your parents now?
Good, alhamdulillah. It was rocky throughout my life, but alhamdulillah, now it's at the point, like, my dad's not well, right? So he suffers from Alzheimer's, and everyone make dua for him, inshallah. May Allah give him health and cure him. But now he's at the stage where he needs help. And it reminds me that, look, we're not here forever. All of these faculties and abilities that we've been given, that we're expressing now, and the things you're doing, bro, and the things I'm doing, and the things we're doing, sometimes we take it for granted that we're like this and we're always going to remain like this. I remember my dad, bro, he's worked in certain places where he's worked in big projects and things like this, and you'll think, wow, it's the same guy who can't even put his own clothes on right now, right? He doesn't know what day of the week it is. He doesn't remember what he said 2 minutes ago. He doesn't even recognize some of his immediate family. Allah tells us in the Quran, he created us, he gave us these faculties, and if we get to an old age and he gets us to that point, then we will return back to as we were when we were first born. And I'm seeing that transition between my dad and my daughter. My daughter's learning how to put her clothes on, my dad's forgetting how to put his clothes on.
Subhanallah.
Yeah, and I'm seeing both ends of the spectrum now. And for me, obviously it's a test and it's difficult at times. May Allah make it easy. But one of the benefits and lessons I could take from this is this period I'm in right now is very precious. It's very valuable to make the most of it. Do whatever I can in this period to leave as much behind as I can for the sake of Allah, bro. Because otherwise, it's wasted. It's gone. And if you realize you've been given this blessing, which is life, and you have your limited period of time is running out, you have to make the most of it. It's like sometimes I think of it this way. When you say you go shopping, right? You go Tesco's, wherever you go there for a limited period of time. If you knew you were going to spend all day in Tesco's, you would take your time shopping. You maybe sit down for a while, eat some ice creams out of the box, have a chat with the cashier. But if you're there and you have a limited period of time, you're going to quickly get your shopping done in that time, and you're going to get out. So you're going to fulfill that objective. So if we're in this life and we know we've got 50, 60 years, we're leaving soon, then why are we wasting it? Let's make the most of it, And that's one of the biggest lessons I've gained from my father's illness. And I'm sure all of us
Allah
have
make
tests,
it easy,
man.
bro.
I mean.
Final question.
Yeah.
Imran in 10 years.
That's a good
Actually,
question.
can I answer that first?
Go on.
I think...
Let's see how well you know me.
I think... Well, bro, I think the art of good leadership is to see things in people they can't see themselves. So I think you in 10 years, probably most definitely, maybe, hopefully, maybe the CEO of iERA, I think.
I don't know about that.
I think so.
I don't know about that, bro. That's a may Allah bless you, and that's a big responsibility.
I do believe that. I do believe that. Or if not even iERA, maybe another massive dawah organization. So
Allah knows best.
Allah bless you, bro.
Yeah.
I'm going to let you answer the question.
Yeah.
So where do you see yourself in 10 years?
I was somewhere else, bro. Look, for me, one thing I would like to do at some point in my life is the way I see my retire. Here's what I'm visioning. Allah knows He's the best of planners, but I have this attachment and love for Pakistan for some reason. Yeah, I don't know why it is. Maybe because whenever I'd go through at the hard times in my life, I'd find relief there. It would take me away from anything, and I developed a relationship with that place. Not from any nationalistic perspective.
Sure,
of course. Clear, yeah, I think nationalism is a big problem, generally speaking. Yeah, but I just have an attachment to this. One thing I'd like to do, maybe in the next 10, 20 years' time, maybe, is to retire there, and just to go and study and to write as much as I can while I'm there, and to teach something, whatever it is, because there's a lot of work that needs to be done there too. And that's just what I envision, inshallah. But for the next 20 years or so, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. And I just pray that Allah utilizes all of us in iERA, inshallah. And I've seen, may Allah bless all the brothers and the stuff that's coming out and the work that everyone's doing. And may Allah make us sincere, bro, because it's needed.
Yes.
It's needed. And I really encourage people watching ReRooted to support the work, check it out. And to get involved, not just sit there and just.
Well, I think if they've listened to your story attentively, like I have, I've hardly spoken. I've just been listening. I mean, I'm inspired. I think everyone's going to be inspired.
Inshallah.
May Allah bless you, bro.
Assalamu alaikum.
Brothers and sisters, thank you for watching. This podcast is available on all the podcast platforms. You can find them below. The links are in the description as well. This is Hamza Tzortzis, your one-time ReRooted host. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.